Guys, how are you? I hope you're great. Thank you so much for joining me for a few minutes. This is going to be short and sweet, and I hope really helpful. It's something that I feel like God has been bringing up again and again in my own life, so I wanted to share it and see if it's something you relate to. Today, what I want to chat about for a few minutes is when we can choose to take a step back from what's going on in our life, maybe a situation that's causing us concern or anxiety, or a situation that we're really asking God to intervene. We're looking for answered prayers and breakthrough in, or just a pattern in our life that we can't quite shake and we're not sure why. So I think the truth is that usually in life, what's going on is a much bigger picture. God is working on your growth, your development. He's making you more like Him. He's way more interested in your relationship with Him than in the specific circumstances of your day-to-day, which sometimes is so hard to accept. You guys, it's so hard for me to accept sometimes. I want, this situation resolved, or I want what I want now, or I'm hurting and I want relief. Or in relationships, I don't want there to be conflict, or I want there to be meaningful connection always. Or, professionally, I want to make progress towards my goals. I want to achieve certain things. We all have these desires, and those are good things. I'm not trying to say they're not important or meaningful. I'm just trying to say that the bigger picture of our relationship is always more important than one dynamic or interaction with a person. The bigger story of our profession and our career and what we're doing in the world is more important than one project or one season. And yet, it's so easy to get really kind of like tunnel vision into what's happening right now. So what I want to chat about today is I'm going to share a few examples to kind of illustrate this so that you can see if you relate and if you've kind of ever felt the things that I'm chatting about. And then I also just want to encourage you on how to take a step back. So I'm not sure if these examples will relate to you exactly, but give them a listen and see if you can relate to something that I'm saying. So one example is maybe you are kind of having a hard day, or your spouse is having a hard day, and they say something or you say something and it strikes you the wrong way. And you get really frustrated and it turns into this disagreement. And you're like, I don't even really know what we're talking about. This is so frustrating how we're upset about this thing. And that's just an example of it's probably not about the actual thing you're talking about. It's about a bigger picture. Maybe in general, I know for me, when I feel like that with my husband, it's because I feel disconnected from him, or I feel like we're not communicating well, or I'm kind of like missing him. We got a little too busy with life. And that's usually when those disagreements happen. It's almost never about, who's going to clean up after our puppy next, or what someone just said. It's always about kind of the bigger pattern that's happening. Another example might be at work. Maybe you feel really upset because you really wanted a promotion or to work on a project, or you wished some conversation with your boss was going differently or something like that. And maybe you get really, really set in on like how frustrated you are that this piece of the puzzle isn't changing. And I just want to ask you to possibly consider if it's much less about that promotion or that project or that conversation or that relationship at work, and it's much more about maybe a bigger picture. Are you feeling frustrated at work? Are you feeling like there's a pattern in your work that you're not feeling appreciated, or you're not really getting where you want to go in general? Again, usually when we get sad or mad or frustrated, it's not like a one-time thing, because usually one-time things we can handle and we can move on and kind of brush them off. It's a pattern of that sort of same feeling happening over and over and over again. Another example might be if you think about a meaningful relationship in your life with a good friend or a family member. Maybe they say something that kind of gets under your skin, or maybe they consistently cancel plans on you. You make plans and they're always late, or they always have to reschedule, or something like that. Now, if that happened once, it might kind of annoy you, or you think, oh, that's a bummer, but it probably wouldn't matter so much. You'd probably let it go pretty easily. But if it happens quite a bit, you might start to feel a certain way. You interpret it in a way. You might think, they don't think I'm important enough to be on time, or they don't care enough about our time together to just keep our appointments that we made. They're always canceling, or they're always late, or whatnot. So again, it's usually not about the specific thing, it's about the pattern. So hopefully I've illustrated that somewhat. So now what I want to do is flip this, and I want us to just take a minute to think about our lives and our journeys from God's perspective. Because I don't know if you're like me, but I am so guilty of having tunnel vision about whatever is not working in my life. Whatever I'm not experiencing growth in, or I haven't, I'm not where I want to be, whatever's causing me pain or discomfort. The areas that I'm really looking and asking for God to grow me in or to answer my prayers in, I get so fixated. I'm like, why can't this be resolved now? And I think it's just so funny because God's like, oh, Christy, it's so much more about the big picture. It is not about this one thing that you're facing, this one thing that you want resolved. It's about what I'm doing in your life. And that is a much bigger journey and a much bigger picture than kind of where your eyes are, where your focus is today. So just like if we're in a conversation with our spouse or thinking about our work or with a friend, it's not super helpful to just focus all the way in and kind of fixate on one thing. We get a lot more clarity, and I think there's a lot of wisdom and discernment if we take a step back and say, okay, what's really going on here? Bigger picture, why is this bothering me? Or, can I get some more clarity on the situation? It's almost always helpful to take a step back and say, okay, I'm going to give this thing a little airspace to breathe, and I'm just going to say, I wonder why I feel like this. I wonder what's going on. And what I want you to do today, that's a worthwhile practice with your relationships and whatnot. But even more important, I think we need to give God the respect, the benefit of the doubt to do that with Him and to say, okay, God, I really want this thing resolved. Maybe you really want, maybe you don't know how something's going to resolve. You're in a new relationship and you're not sure how it's going to go and it feels risky. Or you're applying for a promotion and you're not sure which path to take. Maybe you are thinking about moving or starting something new and you're not sure how to navigate. And you're so focused in that you're having a hard time thinking about anything else. You're having a hard time really seeing the bigger picture. And so I think, my advice is almost always the same. Just ask the Holy Spirit for help. Say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to navigate this. Will you help me, Holy Spirit, to take a step back? And will you show me how you see this? Will you show me the bigger picture of what you're doing in my life? Because I really believe that almost everything with God is about our relationship with Him. He's so much more concerned with what He's doing in your life, in your heart, in your mind, how He's making you more like Him. He's way less concerned about like a specific job or are you going to do this or this today, etc. He's way more concerned with the bigger picture, the bigger journey you're on. And I think the more we just open that conversation up with Him, the more He's going to talk to us about it. And usually, from my own experience, the outcome of that is things like peace or feeling more calm, feeling like we've once again maybe surrendered something to Him and we're going to look to Him and how He's going to play things out instead of trying to control the pieces or getting so focused in that we just miss a lot of our life because we're kind of fixated on this one piece. So, per usual, that was longer than I wanted to share, but I just wonder what you think about that. I wonder if you have any thoughts, if you have any questions, if you've ever experienced those things where you get so focused in, you really can't take a step back to see what's going on. And if, like me, you want to say, okay, I want to change that dynamic. God, I want to invite you into this, and I want to ask how you see this, and if you'll let me know what you're working on in my life, what you see is happening here, instead of just what I see is or isn't happening today. So, as always, please leave any questions or comments below. If this was helpful, share it with someone that you might think could benefit. And I really hope you have a great day. I hope that you just open this conversation with Him and ask Him, what else is going on here? What's the bigger picture happening? Okay, have a great day. Bye.